You probably heard this before. Failing to plan is planning to fail. How many of you heard that before? Huh? I think so many times we can go through life and feel defeated. Anybody feel defeated today? Hopefully not. But it's easy to get up in the morning and have a negative thought in our head, like, man, I didn't get enough sleep last night, I had nightmares, I had bad dreams, or some bad things happened during the week, and be focused on the negative. I guess growing up, I've been in many what we call multi-level marketing plans. How many of you have been in multi-level marketing? You know, like the famous one is what?
Amway.
Amway. Yeah. Who has been in Amway before? Anybody? Okay. But you know, the good thing about Amway, now, I'm not putting Amway down. I met both of the founders, Rick DeVos and Jay Van Andel. Met them in person. They're great people, and they came up with a plan, and basically where they got their plan from is from God's Word. Did you know that? Huh? And the way Jesus does his teaching with his disciples, he got a few, and those few went out and got more people, and that's the way Christianity began, is from very few. And it became where it's one of the largest religions in the world, Christianity. So the thing is that when I was involved in Amway, I became one of the leaders, and I was able to get in front of people. That's where I got my, I guess, comfortability, whatever that, however you say that, is I became comfortable in getting in front of a group of people and giving motivational talks. Well, I'm glad that was the training that I got, because I always thought of myself coming from a Japanese home and maybe being the last person all the time to be picked on a baseball team, and didn't have a good self-esteem or self-image of myself. And I remember as I started working, I worked for a city, I guess it was for poor people, basically, and we went around and cleaned parks and things like that. And I got fed up, and I don't remember the details, but I was so fed up about everybody teasing me that I went home and I told my mom, I'm going to quit. And she says, the only loser when you quit is yourself. Mm-hmm. Those are words that kind of rang through me throughout my growing up years. And I'm thankful for my mom. And she's not the only one that has said that, right? You probably, maybe your parents have said that to you too, is the only one that loses when you quit is yourself. Now, there's been times in my life that I've quit something, but it's not because I didn't want to pursue the goal that I had in life. It was maybe because of some challenges or some things that went on in whatever organization that was. In fact, I remember actually resigning from an organization. I sent a letter of resignation, and after I sent that, because I didn't agree with it, I...
Turn up the volume.
Can you turn up the volume a little bit? I thought I was pretty loud. I was speaking to the mic. But anyways, after I submitted my letter of resignation, the board terminated me. Now, I was really, I was a little confused. How can you terminate somebody that's no longer part of the board? But I can really testify to the fact that there's something that we need to do in life to be successful. Now, I would like for you to think of this word, success, for a second. How many of you feel that your life is successful? You don't have to raise your hand. But you know, I think there's a majority of people out there today that look at themselves as failures. And it seems like the older we get this thought, oh, I've wasted my life away. But the thing is that we all have now, and we have whatever years God has ahead of us, to make plans for the future. Because if we fail to plan, we are surely planning to fail. So let's talk about for a second the fear of failure. Maybe that's the reason that we don't plan, is because we are too afraid of failing. How many of you ever planned to do something and you failed before?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Sure. Sure.
We've all done that. Whether it's doing a job, or maybe it's planning a vacation, and it was a bomb, right? It didn't work out the way. I know, being from Hawaii, there's a lot of people that love to come to Hawaii and vacation. And I remember one thing is that when I was growing up, I saw all these, I'll say older people, because that's where I'm at right now, is these type of people who they were all wrinkled, and of course their youthful bodies had started sagging, and so they're in no t-shirt, you know, the guys, no t-shirt, and baggy pants, short pants, and they can't even enjoy the beauty of Hawaii. And I said, why is it that people have to wait all their lives to get to a place like this and they can't even enjoy the beauty of it all? Don't get me wrong, they still enjoy it, but it seems like when we want something, we don't work hard to get what we want, and so we therefore do not end up receiving what God has for us. Now, I'm not talking about a prosperity gospel, because things really don't matter. And what matters, I believe, is the relationships that we have with each other. Now, I hope everyone has a group of friends. And friendship, we were created for fellowship, right? And friendships are really important. And if we don't have friends, yes, it's really understandable how someone can get down and get in a situation of depression. I like this one that I found. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success. And you've heard me say this before. Everybody knows Babe Ruth, right? Is there anybody that never heard of Babe Ruth? So what was Babe Ruth famous for?
Home runs.
Home runs, right? So he had 1,330 strikeouts. So not only was he the king of home runs, he was also the king of strikeouts. And a lot of people don't know this, but he had a lot more strikeouts than he had home runs. But it is said that every time he would strike out, he would tip his hat against the audience, because he knew one of these times he was going to hit that ball out of the ballpark. So he doubled his home runs, about 714. There's another guy, Thomas Alva Edison. He says, I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. How many of you have tried to do something, especially mechanics, right, Alfredo? How many times have you taken out something and never done this project before, this type of job before, and you put it back in and there's several screws still sitting on your table? All the time, right? The thing is that you don't give up, right? Just because you tried it once, it didn't work, you take it back out and you put it back in, and maybe you have to do that several times before you get it right. And hopefully the next time you do it, you remember what you, or how you did it the last time. But the thing is, see, when we have our mind set on a goal and decide that we will accomplish something, that's the only way we're going to accomplish what we set out to do, is if we plan to do it. Now, the winterization program has been working at Nathaniel's house, got him a furnace going really good, nice and warm in there now. And they're going to be coming tomorrow, and I knew I had to get some things done before they could come and do what they're going to do. In fact, they're going to start blowing insulation, 10 inches of insulation in the attic, and I had to tear all the plaster out of his bathroom and put new sheetrock up so that they could get that accomplished when they come tomorrow. So, you know, usually I like to take Saturdays off because Saturday's a day of rest. But I made a decision that this is going to be important so that Nathaniel can have this done properly. And I worked yesterday, but you know, I had to write some things down and had to think about the things that I need to accomplish to be ready for these construction workers to come and fulfill what they want so that he can get his project done. And see, the thing is that a lot of times we dream. How many of you like to dream, and maybe you have big plans for the future? Huh?
Big plans for quilts.
What's that?
Big plans for quilts.
Big plans for, okay, so like right now you're working on something. You like to work with your hands. Now you might have a plan to make a quilt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just thinking about it is not going to get you that quilt, right?
Nope.
What are some of the steps to make a good quilt? What do you have to do?
Find some good fabric.
Some material,
pieces,
right?
Materials.
And of course, we read, I think it was last week or the week before, about you can't take two different kinds, an old piece of material and a new piece of material and try to put that together because that won't hold up, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so you have to pick material that's going to be compatible with each other. And what else you have to do?
Well, I suppose the first one would be to have a pattern in mind.
Okay, so that's like, you have to have some kind of vision, right?
Right.
Of what this is going to be.
Right, and then you get your fabric, and
And
then
you get your-
you get
okay.
your needle and your thread,
And you got to get started.
right.
And then as you watch yourself progress in your construction of this quilt, then it becomes satisfying. And when you got it all done, what is it usually people do when they finish a project?
Admire it.
Oh, wow. And then they get out their cell phone and they take a picture of it, right?
Of
And
course.
send it to everybody and put it on Facebook and just announce that you have reached your goal in accomplishing a task, right? Same way with us. As a nation, we were like against all odds, right? I mean, we had the British government and the colonies went against the British government. And you remember at Fort Henry, the British wanted the Americans to surrender. And they said, all you have to do is take down that flag. And it was, the British bombarded the fort, and there's so much smoke in the air that they couldn't even see the fort. And then he wrote, Francis Scott Key wrote. Bombs bursting in the air, right? And then in the dawn of the morning, the flag was still there. Tattered, but it was still there. We did not surrender. Can you imagine if they had surrendered? Well, where would we be today as America? America has become a great nation because of some visionaries that wanted a good country for their kids. But you know what? Even though America is still the greatest nation in the world, we are losing so much of our freedoms because we have lost the vision of our early founding fathers and have strayed away from the truth of the Word of God. I like this one. Winners never quit, and quitters never win. In Hebrews, the 12th chapter, it says, let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and the perfecter of our faith. He who endured the cross, despising his shame, he had a goal from the very beginning of time before he created the world that he was going to die for all of us so that we can have a relationship with God. What kind of goal is that? Was that an easy goal? And him being a human experienced all the pain and agony. But because he wanted to quit a lot of times, remember in the garden, Lord, Father, just take this cup away from me. I don't want to experience all this pain. He knew what was going to happen. He knew that when he died, his Father will turn his back against him. Never in history did this ever happen, where the Father and the Son were separated, totally separated. I don't understand that. But you think about it. What sacrifice he made so that we can have a relationship with him. Just like in baseball, right? They call it a sacrifice. In order for the runner on third base to run home, they hit the ball in a different direction. He gets out, but the runner comes home and scores a run. Jeremiah 29:11. I think most of you have memorized this one. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to what? To prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Don't you love that one? The Apostle Paul says, I do not run like a man running aimlessly. I do not fight like a man beating the air. No, I beat my body and I make it my slave so that after I have preached to others, myself will not be disqualified for the prize. You see, when we plan and we make a goal for the future, it takes work. There's a lot of people today living in poverty because they don't plan, they don't make goals to escape poverty. I've been reading a book that Anita gave me called America the Beautiful, written by Ben Carson. And Ben grew up in the ghettos. His mom had a third grade education, and he very nearly became one of those ghetto kids and started acting like the rest of the kids. He even got to the point where he stabbed someone and could have died, but accidentally hit the guy's belt buckle.